Hello everyone. So today I thought it's not a nice day outside. It's kind of cold outside. So I figured today we would make lasagna soup and garlic cheesy bread. I'm actually in the process of making some homemade bread. Let me show you. I'm already raising some homemade bread. I've showed you guys how to make this in a video. So we're going to turn that bread into some garlic cheesy bread to go along with the lasagna soup we're having for dinner tonight. Okay, so to start, I thawed some ground beef. I'm just going to put it right in the pot here. I'm going to break it up with my potato. Well, I guess that's more of a meat masher, right? Works great, whatever it is. I have this on high for now, just to brown up the meat. You could probably use chopped up steak for this too, but I find ground beef works best. If you like ground sausage in your lasagna, that would work too. So we're going to let that start simmering. I have some of my pre-cut frozen onions and peppers here. We're going to put some of those in. Take a handful of each. Actually, a couple handfuls of onion. We like quite a bit of onion. And then some of the peppers. Actually, I think I'm just going to dump the rest of this in. Not much left. Break up a chunk that was in there. And I'm going to let this cook and brown together. I like cooking the vegetables and the meat together. It gives it a bit of more flavor. So now I'm going to get some garlic to put in here. Okay, so while this is starting to heat up and saute the hamburger, I'm going to add some garlic. If I can get it open. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm trying to use up the rest of what's in here before I use the pucks that I froze, the garlic pucks. I'm putting in probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons. I'll taste it later if it needs more. I'm going to add a couple splashes of Worcestershire sauce, not a lot. This is when I'm also going to add a little bit of sugar, probably about 1 to 2 tablespoons. If I need more later, we'll add more. This is to help balance the tomato that we're going to add later. I'm going to add a healthy pinch of dehydrated spinach. You can use fresh if you have it. I just have dehydrated. It's easier for me to use. I'm going to add some pepper. I'm only going to add a little bit because I like to season in layers. So I will check it later and see if it needs more. A little bit of salt. Mix it all up together. Let that saute a little bit more, and then we'll add a few more ingredients. Okay, so now I'm just going to chop up some of the basil that I had growing on my windowsill here. You can use dried basil as well if that's all you have. Most times I use dried, actually. It's summertime, so I happen to have fresh stuff. Okay, now let's add this into the soup. The soup is boiling away here. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to add in the basil we just chopped. I'm going to add a little bit of tomato paste. Probably 2 or 3 tablespoons. Just mix all that in. Okay, now we can add some chicken stock or beef stock. If you have beef stock, that would be best, but I only have chicken, so we're going to use chicken. Okay, so I have a whole quart here. I'm just going to dump the whole thing right in. I might actually need a little bit more. Okay, I have one more here. I have this jar tool linked in my description box if you want to know where I bought it. Okay, we're going to pour the whole thing in. So I needed 2 whole quarts. Mix it up. Okay, now we need to add some tomato sauce. Okay, so I have 2 cans of tomato sauce here. You can use whatever kind you like, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to pour the whole thing in. This is why I'm growing so many tomatoes. I prefer homemade. So I'm trying to use up all the canned stuff that I have stocked before I start canning some. Okay. And then we're going to let this simmer for anywhere from half an hour to a couple hours. Just depends on how much time you have to serve dinner. And then later on, I'm going to add the lasagna noodles, some cheese, and some cottage cheese to this. So we're going to let this simmer. Once it's simmered for a bit, I will come back and show you the rest. Okay, so while we're waiting for the soup to simmer, I figured we could make the garlic butter mixture that goes on top of the garlic cheesy bread that we're going to make. So I'm going to chop up some parsley here. I only have a little bit. You can also use dried parsley. I'm trying to chop this up fairly small. You're going to be eating this in bite size, so I don't want a big mouthful of parsley. Okay, I think that's good. So now we're going to take some butter. I'm going to have to eyeball this because I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to need. So I'm probably going to do maybe 1/4 cup. Maybe a tiny bit more. Let's try closer to a little bit more. I think that's good. Okay. Now I'm going to add some garlic into it. I'm just going to eyeball this. What looks good? Ooh, that is not what looks good. Way too much. Okay. I'm just going to take that right out. That looks like a lot. I think it'll still taste delicious, though. We want it to be nice and garlicky, so this is garlic bread. Okay. Put this over here. Okay, so I was going to add garlic powder, but because I put so much in there, I think I'm going to skip it. I'm going to add some garlic plus seasoning. This is mixed up vegetables with some garlic in it. I'm going to add some of this. I'm going to add some pepper and all of the parsley. And then I'm just going to mix this up and let it sit until the bread is ready for this to be put on the bread to toast. Okay, so here's a close-up look of the garlic butter mixture. I did add a little bit more butter just to balance out the garlic a bit since I dumped so much in. Now we're just going to let this marinate together, and we're going to wait for the soup to be done a little bit more, and then we're going to add the noodles. Okay, so the soup has been simmering for quite a while. Looks really delicious. So let's add some of the noodles in. So I just have some regular lasagna noodles here. I'm going to take some of them out. And all I do is I break bite-sized chunks and I put it right into the soup. This will also help thicken the texture of the soup a little bit. It's going to soak up some of the liquid here. That's why we have so much liquid in the soup. So I would say put in however much noodles you would like into the soup. We tend to like a lot of noodles, so I tend to do quite a few. I have made this with fresh lasagna noodles and I didn't like the texture, so I would suggest using the bought-in lasagna noodles like this, the dried kind. You can use whatever brand of lasagna noodles you like as well. It doesn't matter much. Just don't use fresh. I found the fresh one stuck to the bottom of the pot really easily. I didn't like that. Burned on the bottom. I don't want to add too many. I might need to add more liquid if I add too many. Okay, so let's stir that and see. I think that's good, just so that there's enough liquid left over for it to still be soup. So we're going to just let that simmer and let the noodles cook. And then before we serve it, we'll add cheese, probably some Parmesan and some cottage cheese, and just stir it in. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update and show you all the noodles. I did add some more liquid to this. I added some water just because I did add a little bit too many noodles. But this is what it looks like. So now let's add some cottage cheese and some Parmesan to this. Okay, so I just finished making the bread. It's nice, it smells so good. You'll see how I made this in my video before this one. So I'm hoping this is cool enough to slice. We'll see here. I'm going to take my towel here. I'm just cutting into nice thick pieces for the garlic cheesy bread that we're making. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm making enough for 2 pieces for each person. Okay, so I've taken them out. I was broiling them. So now I'm just going to add some cheese on top. I'm going to add a little bit of cheddar. Kind of spread it out a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to add a slice or 2 of mozzarella on top. We'll do 2, just so it's nice and cheesy. And then we're going to broil this again to melt it, and it's all done. I just happen to have sliced mozzarella, so I'm using it up. Oh, I think that was 2 slices. That's okay. Oh, I think I have just enough cheese here. Perfect. There we go. Now I'm just going to pop them back in the oven. And as soon as they're melted, I'll show you the end product. Okay, so let's add the finishing touches. Let's do the cottage cheese first. I literally just put it right into the soup. Of course, if you don't like cottage cheese, skip this part. If you want to use a different kind of cheese, that's fine. But I generally stick cottage cheese into my soup or into my regular lasagna, so I want it to taste as close as possible. I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay, and then let's add some Parmesan. And I'll leave this out for them to add a little bit more to the top if they want. And there we go. Just mix it all in. And that is my lasagna soup. That's how I make it anyways. Close up of the finished product. Looks delicious. Okay, so I just took the cheesy garlic bread out of the oven and this is what it looks like. Nice and garlicky, and you can still feel the softness of the bread. It's good. Delicious. Can't wait. So guys, that's all I'm doing for the video today. So hope you try the recipe and I'll see you next time. Bye.